Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Sales War channel, and iHealth Radio, and all the channels, basically the EMBC TV network, and with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic, and a sweet topic, a topic I love dearly. I speak about it, I post about it, I get a lot of discussion about it, and always try to find guests to come in and share with you this value. And everyone watching, listening, you're probably going to enjoy this show because this is going to affect your life. And so I would ask that everybody just deep dive into this discussion and listen to it, clearly. And our guest today is going to take us to his journey and his ups and downs, but he is a teacher, a motivational speaker, a writer, and a researcher. But what he does, he lives the life that, you and I would probably want to live. Now, this doesn't mean rich, poor, or anything. This means just to live the life that you are supposed to live. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So again, I'm being a little bit of a suspenseful as usual. And the other thing is that before I get my guest on here, I want to just clearly state this. We all strive for success. And that may differ from one person to the other, whatever that definition of success we have, but we all want to live a happy life and a life that we choose and not that we've been given or been driven by other folks, right? So that's important. So today's talk is going to take us there. So without any further ado, I have with me Liam Naden. Yes, that's correct. I got it correct. So Liam, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us. And you. Once you tell the people where you are and what you're doing, they're going to enjoy this live here. So first things first, let's talk about who is Liam.
Well, hi, Hurricane. Thanks very much for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Yeah, well, as you said, I'm a speaker, writer, teacher, researcher, and my whole passion in life, ever since I've been a young child, really, is to try and figure out how can we be the best that we can be. How can we be successful and happy and, do all the things we want to do? So that's really been my mission. And I've tried all sorts of different things, different avenues, from religion to spirituality to self-help, motivation, personal development, business, all sorts of different ideas and different approaches to try and answer this question. And it's really only in the latter years that I've managed to figure a few things out by pulling all these ideas together and come up with the biggest clue of all, which is the topic of what we're going to talk about, which is what your brain is and what it's supposed to do and how it's designed to be used in the right way to give you the life that you want.
That's going to be I don't think an hour will do justice to that one, but we're going to try to do our best.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about that. You said, only recently in recent years, you've kind of like discovered this whole thing. Now, I know that part of your first journey, you've got into some real deep, life crisis or whatever it is. We can refer to it, and you'll tell us more about that. And it was a life-changing experience. And for the most people, it's something that we probably don't think that it could happen to us. But potentially it can. And the question is how to handle it. But so let's take us through, you were going about your life, doing your thing, and then something happened, right? So what was that big event?
Well, what had actually happened, I'll give you a brief run up to it. As I said, most of my life I've been studying success and trying to figure out how to be successful. And I started off in my upbringing in a religious family. And when I asked my parents, how can I be happy? They gave me the answer, as the teachers did, which was, well, whatever you want, you just pray to God and God will give it to you. Prayer is the answer. So that's what I did for about the first 20 years of my life. And I prayed to God, and I remember really praying hard for things and not getting them and wondering, well, hang on, I'm supposed to get it, aren't I? What's going on? But anyway, that didn't quite work out for me. And then I moved on to somebody saying, well, you need an education. That's how you become happy and successful. You get an education, and then you'll have credibility, and you'll be able to get a really good job, and you'll have lots of knowledge, and you'll be happy and successful. So I said, okay, and I went down that track, and I went to university for 7 years, studied music, actually. And I became very knowledgeable about a certain area of music. But what I noticed was that the professors and the other people in the education industry, if you like, they were very knowledgeable, but they weren't any happier than I was, and they weren't any happier than anyone else in the world. So I thought, this isn't really working for me either as a means to be happy and successful. And then I had an uncle said, what you need to do if you want to be happy and successful, you need to set up your own business. Go into business for yourself, make lots of money, and you'll have all the freedom and to do anything you want to do. And that's what I did then. I went and I set up my own business, and I was very successful. It was actually the first of 18 businesses I've had in my life so far, in all sorts of different areas. But I was really successful in business, and I was making really good money, and I had a nice home, and I was able to go on some nice trips and do what I thought I wanted. But I also had lots of problems and lots of stress in my life. And I started to think, well, this is just part of being in business. This is part of success, is stress, problems, and overcoming struggle all the time. But it didn't really make me that happy. I was, successful on the outside, but I was still not very happy on the inside. And then I went down the whole personal development, self-help, motivational sort of area, and I went to seminars all over the world. I was brought up in New Zealand, by the way, so anywhere else in the world is a long way from New Zealand to go to a seminar. But I did. I went to America, Australia, etc. And I read a lot of books, I did courses, and I did everything from learning how to reprogram your subconscious mind and listen to sort of hypnosis type tapes, to setting goals and learning how to set goals and learning how to be motivated and learning how to change your thoughts and change your beliefs and work on all of these different techniques and ideas. But one thing I noticed was I couldn't quite relate it to my life in terms of, was this working for me? Because I was getting more successful in business and I was making more money and I was doing good things, but I still had lots of problems. I still had lots of stress. And I still didn't really feel in control of my life, that it was going the way I really wanted it to do, because I still had these things coming at me out of left field, if you like, that unexpected problems that kept showing up. So I thought, well, maybe this, is it really supposed to be this much of a struggle? Maybe it is. Then I started to do some spirituality, some spiritual practices, meditation, and learning other techniques where I'd heard that, it's not supposed to be a struggle. You're supposed to just attract all of these things to you by operating on a spiritual level. And through all of these things that I tried, I noticed two things. One was I didn't feel that much more successful. I didn't feel it was working for me particularly. And I noticed the other people around me, it was the same thing. They weren't particularly more successful either. So by this stage, I thought, well, this is just the way it is. Life is a struggle. This is the price of success. You've got to overcome all these challenges all the time. But then in my mid-40s, something happened. Here I was, an expert in success, really. I knew all the books, all the techniques. If anyone said to me, what's this person teaching? I could tell them pretty much. I had a big library of stuff. But then in my mid-40s, I went from all of this outward success to losing everything. Absolutely lost everything. And I became homeless and absolutely had nothing. And I had to move in to the apartment that my elderly mother lived in, and I had to sleep on the sofa in her living room. And she even paid for my food. I just had literally nothing. And I remember thinking, why has this happened to me? I've studied all there is to know about success and being in control of your life, and yet something's happened that has left me completely out of control of my life, because I would never have chosen this to happen to me. And I also remember feeling really down about the fact I had no clue on what to do to get out of it. So I had no clue on how to earn any money, or I had no ideas at all. So anyway, I worked my way through that event, if you like, and unraveled all the mess that I was living in. And then I noticed my life was starting to go a lot better. And it gradually got better, and then it got a lot better. And I attracted a different sort of relationship with somebody new who was completely unlike anyone else I'd been with before. There was no drama, there were no problems, there was no stress. It was just fun and exciting. And then funny things started to happen to me. Business opportunities came along, ideas came along, people came along and said, and they were all unexpected things. And things started to get a lot better. And I was developing new business ideas. I was starting to do some different sorts of coaching, and I had another importing distribution business going, and lots of good things were happening. But I suddenly realized that it was very different to what had happened before this event, before I lost everything. I had no problems. I had no stress. And I genuinely thought, what's going on here? Because I really don't have any problems. Things are seeming to flow a lot better. Sure, there's the odd thing that you're not sure about, that I wasn't sure about, or I had to, tackle. But I wasn't living with this stress all the time and these unexpected pressures that kept coming along. And I was starting to do the things that I really I'd always wanted to do. And I was really enjoying them. I was starting to travel, go sailing. I've been living on a boat for the last 7 years and just traveling around the world, doing all these different things. And I thought, there's something very different here that I'm doing. I need to figure out what it is, because I don't want to stop doing it. I want to make sure I keep doing what's working. This is working. I feel great. I feel really excited. I'd wake up in the mornings, and I still do, really excited about life rather than dreading it and thinking, what's my inbox going to say today? And who's going to ring me up about a problem with a staff member or something in my business or in my personal life? And so I thought, I need to figure this out. And I had so much knowledge of all of these different things that I started to pull it all together and come up with a model, if you like, of how it actually, what was really working in my life and what wasn't. And it all brought me back to this thing between our ears, the brain. Because there's something really interesting about the brain. Nobody has ever been taught about the brain. We all think, yes, we've got this brain and it helps you think and keeps you alive. But we don't understand what it is and what its function is. And how I came across this, I started at the beginning and I thought, right, I'm going to figure out what I've done, what I'm doing right. Where do I start? I'm going to start with a really basic question. Who am I and why am I here? And, there've been thousands of books and philosophies about trying to answer that question. But I thought, okay, now with all that aside, is there anything I can say for sure about who I am and why I'm here? And one thing I can say for sure about me and about every human being is that we're all physical, biological beings. We're part of a biological species. And we're like every other on this planet. There are lots of other biological species as well. So if we're biological, do we have a biological purpose? Is there a purpose for us being here physically? And it turns out that science definitely says that there is a reason. If you ask that question of any biological scientist, he will say there's definitely a biological purpose for you being here. And that purpose is to survive and to thrive so that you allow the continuation of the human species. That's the purpose of all life, is to be the best that it can be to ensure that the species survives. So that's the key thing, of course. If our biological purpose is to survive and thrive, it means our purpose is to be the best that we can be. Because when we're the best that we can be, that gives us the greatest chance for biological survival. But it doesn't just mean physically being the best you can be so that you're strong to fight off disease or recover from injury or defend yourself. It also means mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And because when you're at your best mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, what are you? You're your most creative, your most resourceful. It's when you come up with all these great ideas, and it's when you do great things. It's when you create things out of nothing, like artists, musicians talk about this, how they are creative and create things to improve humanity. So that means if your purpose is to be the best you can be, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, that means your purpose is to be happy. That is your biological purpose. You are designed to be happy. And I thought, well, this is really weird, but so why is it that people aren't happy? Why is it that most people are not happy if that's your biological purpose? And it turns out the next question I asked was, okay, so if we're designed to be this way, this is our purpose, has nature provided us with anything to enable it, to help us, to enable that to happen? Or have we just been thrown in the deep end and we have to fend for ourselves? Well, that doesn't make sense from a biological perspective either, that we would just be thrown in. And it turns out nature has given us a tool whose sole purpose is to make sure that we are the best that we can be, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, be happy, and that is our brain. Our brain is a machine that has been specifically designed to make sure that we stay the best that we can be, so we have the greatest chance for survival. So, but here's the interesting thing, and this was all part of my research. I thought, okay, what is it about the brain? What is the brain? Well, it turns out the brain is a machine. It's by far and away the most powerful machine that exists on the planet. And if we knew how powerful it was, all we do is try and figure out how to use it, because it does have the solution and the answers to everything we want to know and every problem in our life. Because remember, it's designed to make us happy. So if we understood the power of the brain, that would be our focus. And that's what I teach people now is understanding not only how powerful it is and what it is, but what it's designed to do and how it's designed to do it. The human brain, it can do. They did an experiment a few years ago with a supercomputer in Japan, and it took what the human brain and it compared. It said how long would it take this computer to do what one thing the human brain can do in 1 second, one process. It took this computer 40 minutes to do one thing, and we're doing millions of things every second. So we're vastly more powerful, our brain is, than any other computer on the planet, any network of computers. But here's the thing about the brain. It is just a machine. It is just like our heart, just like any other organ in our body. It operates on very specific principles. And I think a really good comparison is a car. A motor car is a machine, and you know that it has a very specific purpose, which is when you get in it, it's to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And that journey is supposed to be comfortable, efficient, enjoyable, and predictable. It will get you there. But what's the difference between our brain and a car is that you also know with a car, if you got into it and you didn't know how to drive it, if no one had taught you how to drive it, it wouldn't get you to where you want to go. And in fact, you would say that's absolutely crazy to get into a car and expect it to take you somewhere when no one's taught you how to drive it. And we learn how to drive every machine in our life except the most powerful machine of all. And what would happen if you got into a car and you didn't know how to drive it, and you said, oh, hang on, there's a lever here and there's a button here, and I don't know what these are. Let me try and figure it out. Oh, I know, it's got wheels on it. Maybe I should get out and push, because that's what I'll do. So you get out and you start to push the car, and you put in all this enormous amount of effort, and you're determined and you're motivated and you're going to achieve it. You're going to get that car to where it's supposed to go. And what happens? It's a struggle. Nothing happens. You're lucky if you get anywhere. And all it does is wear you out, make you stressed and exhausted. And then the next thing you would say is, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm not strong enough. I'm not determined enough. I'm going to learn how to build up my muscles and get stronger to push this car even harder, because that's the problem. The problem is me. It's not the car. It's me. And it's not that I'm using it the wrong way. All of that's ridiculous, isn't it? But this is how we use our brain, because no one's taught us how to use it. And we're putting in all this effort and struggle to get it to work or to get it to do something, when it's never going to do what it's designed to do, because we're using it the wrong way. We're not following the instruction manual on how it works. Because the other thing that happens, and this is a logical thing I realized, is that When you use the machine the wrong way, what happens? You end up with problems. Problems are a sign that you're using a machine the wrong way. Now, if you get into a car and leave the handbrake on and try and put your foot on the accelerator, if it moves at all, what are you going to do? You're going to damage the car. You might blow up the engine and you're going to create a problem. And it turns out it's exactly the same with the human brain. The human brain is not designed to give us problems. But when we use it the wrong way, problems show up in our life. You're following me?
I'm with you. I didn't want to stop you. You were going on a nice little flow there. So let's. I love what you're saying, and I'm just just taking it all in. But I wanted to just to pause and go back to some parts of your life, because for the audiences, we can see the change, right? I mean, based on the story, there was an imminent event that happened, and it just kind of changed the way you see life. And but you did the right thing past that point and figured out a whole new way to live. And that's where we're talking about the brain power. And but before that, for the average person, if not everyone, will probably consider you are the ultimate successful story before that main event. Meaning that, first of all, you were religious, so a lot of conservative people out there, and even they're liberal, it doesn't matter. But religion can be a nice thing to have. So a lot of people would relate to you, be like, yeah, this is good. And by the way, I did want to make a comment about that. I believe in all religions. We all know one thing, that God is there, will help you if you help yourself, right? So nothing happens by itself. You got to do it.
The funny thing is, the Bible is the best instruction manual on how to use your brain that exists.
There you go.
But no one's interpreted it that way. We'll talk about that if you like a bit later. But religion tells us exactly how to use our brain, but nobody understands it. Therefore, nobody does it.
I agree. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we have to. I mean, religion is there for more like guidances and kind of like it's almost the divine legislation. but we could talk about that, separately. But the fact is, when people say you just have to ask and pray, prayer alone is not going to do it. Actions speak louder, right? You have to do the action, and then the rest is history. So, I just wanted to make that comment when you said that, because that's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with prayer. I mean, I think everybody should pray and be close, to. Well,
prayer works if you do it in the right way, and most people aren't doing it in the right way. Sadly.
I agree, and that's what I said. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but without doing it correctly, as you said, it's not going to work. And part of doing correctly is doing the other pieces of that you're supposed to do. The other part is you did take the time to educate yourself and get to the right level. And so from that aspect, many people also will look at you like, wow, I mean, you went through, different, 7 years in college. That's not just a basic degree. This is an advanced degree. And that means you are smart about it, and you're good. And then you said you had one of 18 businesses you started then. And the ultimate, pleasure for people here is like either being in the business or like being a successful story in a career path, like whatever industry you choose. And so up to that picture, I mean, you were really doing it where in the template that everybody else is using today, because really everybody is looking at it this way. I want to be good, family, religion, blah, 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 all that. And then I also want to be very educated so I can be from the top people in terms of my knowledge and skills, and in intellect. And then the next thing, if I don't want to go into the career path and work in, let's say, corporate, I want to go into business. By the way, business, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, being, your own boss in a way, it has its merits and pros and cons, because it's not always as peaceful and peachy as people think. It comes with, to your point, stress and who's gonna, people don't show up, this, that, the other, there's cost, there's many things. But you did all that. And so for our audiences, like, that would have been like the dream on its own. These are all dreams, actually, different levels of goals in life that people might have and probably still do. And you did all that. But then all of a sudden, things happen. And by the way, it can happen to all of us. I've experienced it too. When you go to your best stop and then like overnight, things just turn back against you. I can relate to it. I mean, a few years back, came in for vacation. I get a call, company shut down. That's it. Bye-bye. Everybody's gone. So you got to start from scratch again. So I can relate to that when you have to like now reconsider your life stuff. Now, Luckily, I didn't have the level where you had to literally lose everything and kind of. I mean, really, that's a tough one. I can't even fathom how you did it, and that's a tougher. I mean, you're definitely a better person than I am in terms of that because you handled it well, and you're right. I mean, look at you. I mean, in midlife, you're going back to your mom's place and living on a couch. That is a difficult. Even a lot of people would not even recover from that because they'll just kind of, that's it, it's over. And sometimes people actually do go to drugs and other like energy levels where they can just kind of get out of this whole thing, and that's how they kind of diffuse it, right, or at least deal with it. And unfortunately, that's not the best way to do it, but some people still do. And again, for our audiences, the idea is that you don't have to go there. EM is the perfect example of if that ever happens, and it can happen. So don't discount that. Like it's never going to happen to me. That's a mistake that we all make. It happens to everybody else but us. I can tell you in person, I've experienced a lot of things that I always think that they used to think that they always happen to the others, but I've had them myself. So I can tell you, shit happens here as well. So there's no gimmicks there. It happens. So just always be worried about what can happen. Don't be too comfortable in life that it's always going to be, if it's too good, then they expect there's going to be a bump somewhere. Just be aware. It's like having a nice little cruise at sea, and then there's a rogue wave, or you go on in a plane and there's turbulence. It's nice until the turbulence hits and that plane starts shaking, right? And so that's where you have to make the right maneuvers. And now you really went to the other extreme. Now you kind of went to the level of tapping into the real power of the brain. And you're right. Everybody has a brain. I mean, we have technically two, I mean, left, right, whatever, biologically, scientifically speaking. But the fact is we all have this machine. And you're right, it is a machine. It operates everything. And it operates in faster than any computer on earth. As a matter of fact, we created the computers and the logics and the algorithms and the binary codes and all the stuff. We did that, right? So it's our brain that was able to manufacture and put that in place. But the fact is, we don't use it. As a matter of fact, most people will agree that, we don't use like a couple of % of our brain capacity and capabilities and even operate them. And the analogies you gave for the car, I love that. I mean, you're right. I mean, imagine that. You're pushing the car. Yeah, it's moving, but now it's not moving the right way and it's not going to get you anywhere. So that's what we keep doing. We just struggle. We basically keep struggling and spinning our wheels and kind of like just trying to figure out stuff, but we're not really like, asking the right questions. We're not really discovering ourselves and like what really, works for me, what would make a difference for me. And we also this is the other typical part, is that we always look at the others. Well, they're doing it, or we just want to be standard just like everyone else. Everyone else. And that's the other part that we shouldn't. You didn't do that. You actually took it your way and figured this out yourself, and you did what it took, just tapping into the brains. And that's in itself an achievement, because just taking the time to reset and revisit and really understand that. And you asked the question, to your point, philosophically speaking, that's a question that's been, from millennia. Who am I? That's a very big question. I mean, philosophy has been discussing that since the Greeks, right? Or beyond. So now let's talk about where you are. So you got into this brain realization, like how it works, the machine itself, the power of this machine. Now, what can you tell people? How can people even do the same thing as you did? I mean, because it's one thing to hear it, but really, like I'm thinking about it. If I have to sit down here and figure out what my brain and how powerful it is, I can think about it, but I don't even know what to begin. So how did you do that?
Well, I think there's a few things to unpack from what you've been saying, really. But can I just say, a lot of the things that are accepted wisdom about who we are and how we get what we want and how we're supposed to live, what I found was, from a biological perspective, from a logical perspective, many of those things simply aren't true. For instance, I mentioned the thing about, problems are a sign you're using your brain the wrong way. And a lot of people are going, oh, well, that's all well for you. You don't, to say you don't have problems and I've got all these terrible problems. How can you say that? But all I'm trying to do is share with people the truth. And one of the things about using your brain the right way is you see things differently. You see the truth. When you use it the wrong way, it literally blocks you from seeing the truth. So, and you mentioned something interesting as well about, you were living the life that everyone would aspire to living, with the money and the success and all of that. But here's the thing we forget, is that our biological purpose is to be happy. That's actually what we want. And that is success, is being happy. All of those things, the money, the houses, the lifestyle, the travel, whatever you want, the relationship, whatever you want to call it, that's getting those things is not success. You only want those things because you think they are going to give you what you really want, which is to be happy. So your whole purpose, the whole thing that everybody is doing, the only reason everybody is doing anything is to try to be happy. And you've just figured out for yourself what you think, and by comparing yourself to others and what you've heard, well, this will make me happy. When I make $1 million, then I'll be happy. When I get the house, then I'll be happy. When I fix my relationship or create a good one, then I'll be happy. But they're not. That's not the truth. The truth, and here's the thing about your brain, and this is another thing that I realized, your brain knows what you need to be happy. It knows everything about you, about what you need to be happy, but you don't know it, because the part of your brain that knows is not the part that contains your thoughts or the information that you have. And this is why you're sitting down and trying to figure out what you want. And I did all of that. I set all the goals. I achieved the money, made the money and everything, but I still wasn't happy. So I still didn't feel successful. So one of the most fundamental things to do when you start to understand who you are and why you're here, you've got to get on track with your brain to start going after the things that truly will make you happy. What's the point in having all the money in the world and being miserable? It's not the point. And this is why so many people end up with achieving certain success and they're not happy and they're miserable and then they kill themselves or whatever. And it all comes down to how the brain functions. Can I just make one other point biologically about who we are? We've got this stuff in our body called DNA. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. But here's the thing, what DNA is in every cell of your body, there's a strand of molecules. If you stretch it out, it's 4 feet long in every single cell of your body. And you've got 75 trillion cells in your body. So if you stretch all that out end to end, you've got 50 million miles worth of DNA in your body. That's from here to Mars, or actually a little bit further. That's all just in your body. But what is this DNA? Every one of those 4 feet of DNA has a blueprint for who you are. There's more than 250 million pieces of information about you, and they're unique to you. And your brain's job, or what it's trying to do to make you the best that you can be, is to manifest that blueprint of who you are in your life. But it's different for you, it's different for me, it's different for everybody. And this is when, if you start comparing yourself to others and saying, well, he's living an amazing life, or they're not living a great life, and I'm not living a good life, or I want to do something different. You can't do that. That's not the way. You're using a limited part of your brain, which is, we'll get onto what the 4 parts are. You're using the wrong part of your brain to try and find an answer. So your whole purpose is to activate the part of your brain that knows more than you do about what you want, what's going to make you happy, and how to get it. And then all you need to do is let that part do its job. And then you really will be happy. You will achieve. Now, it's whatever you really want. And you might end up doing things. People I've coached, it's been the same for them. And it was the same for me. I never dreamt I'd be sailing around Europe in a yacht for 7 years. I never put that on a goals list. But and all sorts of other things that happen on a really regular basis that I never thought would happen and I never thought of, they show up because they are the parts that are in my DNA that are right for me. So I think one of the biggest problems with society is we're on this track because we're using our brain the wrong way of comparing ourselves to others and thinking there's something outside of me that I need to get, I need to figure out, and I need to figure out in advance, and I need to know the 20 steps to get there. That's just not how nature works. It's not how you work biologically. It's not how you're designed to work. And if you try that approach, all you're going to end up is with a lot of struggle, a lot of wrong effort, doing the wrong things, making mistakes, having a lot of stress in your life, and ending up with things you don't want. It's just not the way it was supposed to be. It says in the Bible, can I just quote the Bible? It says, give no thought for tomorrow. Do not be anxious about tomorrow. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Do not worry about what you shall eat, drink, or wear. Aren't you much more special than the flowers of the field and the birds of the air? And they don't worry about it. Aren't you going to be looked after? That's how your brain works, because you're accessing a different part of your brain that knows what you need, knows what you want, knows how to get it for you. And if you just keep getting in the way of that, you're just going to create problems.
So
I hope that makes sense.
Well, it does. It does. As a matter of fact, I want to just to kind of comment on a couple. One is the happiness or being happy, right? To your point, a lot of people may almost put together like a correlation between success and happiness, and those two things can be different. Being successful doesn't mean you have to be happy. You can be actually poor with nothing and still be happy. Children.
That is success. What is success? It's
exactly.
being the best that you can be. And what is being poor? What is being rich?
That's right.
These are all just ideas. They're not about you, because yes, I would say a person who's poor and happy is more successful. They're far more creative, able to live their biological purpose than someone who's rich and miserable. Definitely.
It is. And what I'm saying is that most of us, we look at, because the society has put standards for us. And you look everywhere, there's these marketing campaigns, these movies, there's all kind of influence that is being almost projected in front of us daily from the beginning of your early childhood to now, to whatever age you are. And all you see is the same picture. And again, even today in social media, it's all about, who's got, to your point, who's got this house, who's got this car, whatever. I mean, these are good things to have. If you can achieve them, that's great. Nothing against it. But the fact is, those are the standards that we've been given as the targets. And so everybody is kind of putting a synonymous, definition to them in their lives. So basically they take it. That's what I want. That's what, will define me as being good, because everybody else will think that I've achieved and I've reached that goal, whatever that standardized, goal for society. I think that's the problem. But one of the good examples, I mean, you look at kids. Well, kids don't have much. I mean, they can have, their parents may have or may not have, but the kids doesn't matter. You can take a poor kid, a rich kid. I mean, and again, those are differentiated, by society. But to your point, kids are kids. You put them somewhere, they're all equal. They'll have fun. They're happy. They play. They don't even work and think about anything else, right? It's usually, I love to actually, refer to the kids as examples, because they're the innocent folks, and you can see life within their eyes without any corruption. Because I think we get corrupted over the years.
They're using their brains the right way. And it says in the Bible, be like little children, only that you who are like little children can enter the kingdom of heaven.
Well, you're right. Innocence. That's really it. And
well, when I explain how the brain works, we'll understand how that plays into being childlike.
So hold that thought. We're gonna get there soon. But what I wanted also to add is that with the comparisons, right, of ourselves and others, we get caught up, and really that's the thing. You mentioned something powerful about, you quoted the Bible about tomorrow. Well, tomorrow didn't happen. We have no guarantee of tomorrow. The past is gone. That's the biggest thing I live by. I can't change yesterday. I don't know what tomorrow is going to hold, but I know today, this moment I'm living, I'm going to do, I'm going to try to operate in this world according to what I'd like and be as happy as I can be today. That's just me personally, right? And that gives me peace of mind, less stress. Like, people's like, you do a lot of things, but you're not stressed. It doesn't bother me. What's going to happen is going to happen, and I can't change it. I mean, I'm doing my stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sleeping and expecting the world just to happen. But at the same time, if it's not gonna, what doesn't hurt you, whatever, is gonna make you stronger, right? Whatever, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So the same concept here. I'm gonna hit here, I'm gonna hit there, but whatever it is, it's gonna have an outcome. I just have to learn from it and move on if there's the case. But that's kind of like everybody has a different formula to operate, right? So I choose not to worry. I know that there is provision, as you call it, like you said, the birds and everything out there, they don't have to worry about, they don't go to work. They get up, they come out, and then they find food and they do the stuff. Now, we're not the same. We operate a little bit at a higher scale level. And so, but similarly, we have certain things that are in place for us. But, people sometimes don't do that. They don't think about it. So they just kind of work because, again, they've been conditioned to do this. The minute you grow up, you're going to have to go to work. You're going to have to work a certain amount of hours. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And if you don't do it this way, well, you're not successful. If you go to a business, that will be the greatest thing that can happen to you. Not everybody is made for business. That's the other thing, right? I mean, not everybody can operate in the business world or be, an entrepreneur. So there's different things, in life. So you have to know yourself. And this is where you're going to take us into the parts of the brain and how we really can maximize that opportunity. But so I wanted just to cover that because people are, society has determined sometimes, for us what these things will be. And most of us, I mean, I'd hate to say the word zombie, but we operate like zombies because we just basically go in, in a status quo, lane, and we just kind of wake up. It's routine. We repeat every day. Boom, get up, do the same. The weekends come, we TGIF, boom, Monday, we're back to, we hate Mondays, we love Fridays. That's usually the average person, and that's how we think. We shouldn't be doing that. And again, that's why I said the success piece here is about you changing your mindset. That's the other thing I was going to ask you is, are you referring specifically to the mindset or really the functions? I mean, I know you're talking about DNAs and the DNA code is in itself. They're just barely cracking it. They're still working on it. And I don't think anyone will ever understand what the DNA and how it works, to their full advantage or potential rather. And also we know that the brain, if you can use 10% of your brain capabilities, you can change the world. But we don't have that capability either. So let's talk about now. By the way, any comments, any other suggestions here before we move to the four pieces of brain or parts of the brain?
Well, I think the thing we need to realize about the brain, all this idea about changing your mindset, or we only use 10% or whatever it is, all of that, and none of these things are true, by the way, because the more research you do into what the brain actually is. But these are ideas we've picked up all the way along. But all of these are really not the way we operate at all, because your brain, remember I said right at the beginning, your brain is designed to make you the best that you can be. That's biological. And if it's not doing that, then you're using the machine the wrong way. But the other thing is, it's not supposed to be hard or difficult. It's not supposed to be something you have to learn to do. This is natural. This is the natural way you use your brain. It's just like everything in nature uses the machinery that it's been given to achieve the outcome of surviving and thriving and carrying on the survival of the species. We've just made it so complicated, so difficult, and thinking, I need to work on this. Because the fact that nearly everybody is doing it wrong doesn't mean that it's the wrong idea. It doesn't mean, just because most people are having problems in their life does not mean problems are natural. And if you really think about it, it's another thing you made a comment about, we get what doesn't kill us, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's actually not true either when you delve into it, because any problem that you have, any stress that you have actually damages your body, and it damages you physically and on every other level. So it actually inhibits your ability to survive and thrive. How you grow from problems, and we could talk about this for hours, and you don't actually bust through a problem. What you actually do is you say, your brain switches and goes, right, I need to come up with something different, and you do something different. It's not the fear or the struggle that creates the breakthrough. It's the giving up of the fear and the struggle. It's when your brain is sick and tired of the fear and the struggle, then you make a little switch, and then you get the solution. And I'll talk about how that works. But the point I'm trying to make is all of these things that we've been taught about, this must be complicated, and maybe we really should learn about this, or maybe I need to go on a course for 10 years or learn from somebody to learn all that. This is our natural state. It's as simple as getting into a car and going, I push that handbrake off, I turn the key on, I put it in gear, and I put my foot on the accelerator and I steer. It's as simple as that. And everything else has been brought at us to try and make things complicated, because you talk about the film, these standards for society. Who created? Here's another topic. But who created the standards for society? People who want to control you, people who want to sell you stuff. Marketers know how the brain works. They've used this stuff for decades, even politicians. And they know that if you are happy and if you feel content and you feel successful, you don't buy as much stuff. So they have to present you with a picture of, you won't be happy until you get my product. It's all designed to do that. And so now we have this mindset in society, I have to go after things to be happy, and I have to get that, and then I'll be happy. It's all about using our brain the wrong way to train us to be consumers so that people make money, including us. It supposedly keeps the wheel going around, but it's not how we're designed to live at all. And if you live the way you're supposed to live, unique to you, who knows what that could be? It could be you have no concept. It might be digging ditches in a gutter. It might be being a tightrope walker and somewhere. It might be living on a beach doing nothing. But the point is, whatever you're doing, if your brain knows that that's what you need to be doing to show to express your blueprint of who you are, and therefore be really happy, then you are successful because you're being the best that you can be.
Thank you.
A lot to throw at you.
No. Actually, it's pretty powerful stuff, and you're very, on point with the concept of normal versus not normal, because that's the other thing. Again, the standardized
normal.
Exactly.
There is no normal.
Yeah, your normal, my normal don't have to actually be the same. Your normal, anything is normal to you, to whatever that is for you. But we are always defining normal as like what is being told to us. If you don't do this and you do this and you do these 5 steps a day or whatever, you're not normal. I mean, you're something's wrong with you. That's the challenge. And you're right.
And all of those things, somebody else telling you what you should do and you thinking that they have the answer to what you do, that's using your brain the wrong way.
Well, it's funny.
When you start using it the right way, you take advice from people and you get good ideas, but you don't let other people determine where you should go, because you naturally go in the perfect direction.
I love it.
It's the beauty of it.
It is. And you're right. I mean, the idea is we can learn, and pick stuff, but you have to continue on your journey the way you want it. But you have to understand you've got an infinitely powerful computer. I don't know about you, but if someone came along to me and said, if you want the answer to any question, there's a vast library there and you can just press a button and it'll give you the answer to any question. Or there's one book in the corner that might have the answer, but we don't know if it's true or not. What would you rather use? And the little book in the corner is your thinking brain. The vast library of every book on the planet is another part of your brain. And that's the one you should use to drive your life, not try and figure stuff out by frantically going through one little book, seeing if you can find the answer. That's what we're all doing. That's what most people are doing, because they don't understand how their brain works. Well, you're going to tell us about those functions right now, but I just wanted to something you just mentioned about the. I think I lost the thought of the thought process. Just left here for a second, so we'll go to you and then I'll come back with the question. So let's talk about those parts. Oh, I'm sorry, I came back to me. So I was going to refer to the comment you made about control, and I avoided that comment earlier, but you went there. So let's go there for a second. But you're right. To your point, I mean, there is certainly all the stuff, the education system, the cultures, everything has been designed by supposedly, they're humans. They're other people who actually, to your point, maybe have figured it out and they know how to do it to keep everybody else under a certain level of control. And basically, as we say in common words, you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're just going with the flow. You're just keeping up with the
and not being happy.
Well, and that's exactly it. And you said it something. Two comments you made powerful. One is the fact that when I said the analogy or the statement that says what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You're right. I mean, by the way, when I said it, I mean that's just a standard word expression. But there's no such thing in your life that doesn't have an impact on you. And you're right. It's going to have a toll on you. Yes, it's just how you get out of it is one thing. Some people just get destroyed. Some people. But there's always it's like you go through a bush and you get a scratch. It's going to have a little mark. You're going to have a little ouch there. It's going to happen. But the question is how much of the damage you're going to get. And so that changes things. But to going back to that control piece, right? You said something as powerful as anybody. If you're listening right now, this is probably one of the biggest items, which is if you're content and you don't have to have everything that everybody is telling you to have, nobody can control you. That's the thing. I read something the other day that the most powerful person is the person that says it is what it is. It is what it is. What are you going to do to these people? You can't change. There's nothing you can do to impact. You're going to kill them. It is what it is. You're going to take them on. It is what it is. Life. It is what it is. It's very difficult. And again, I'm giving an example and being a little funny about it. But the fact is, when you get to a point where nothing phases you, you're okay with you understand how you operate and you're in your lane and you don't care about everything else that's being given and fed to you somehow, then you're in power. And that's the part that I think we miss. We're not in power. Most of us are actually struggling and we're just on the following, streak as opposed to like empowering ourselves and being in charge. you and I had a little brief discussion before we started the show about where you are today and where your permanent residence is. And, you said it, you travel the world on your own. You don't have a permanent address because you're all over the world. You have a selling thing and you just go around. And to be honest with you, I told you I would love to be that. One day I want to be that. I want to be able to just do that. And you don't have the attachment that everybody else has because you change that. You have a different way of operating, and therefore you live in the life that really makes you happy. And that's actually, to your point earlier, happiness is the objective to everyone. Money, all the stuff that we try to get is almost a means to the happiness, but sometimes we get all that stuff and still miss the happiness part, or actually by
it's what we think is the means to the happiness.
Well, yes. But again, you have to do some, but again, maybe you have a different solution and we're going to talk about that. But the fact is the concept that we know is that we try to work, we try to do this, we try to do that. And the ultimate thing is that maybe we'll buy happiness, but happiness you can't buy. You have to do it. You just have to be. And that's the thing. But to your point, you got to the magic formula. You got to the point where you don't care about all that, but happiness does happen. And you're living in the way that you really want. And you enjoy it. I can see in your face too. You're just nice and mellow about it. I love it. So that's a state of mind that is powerful. That is a state of mind that I think if watching people listening right now, once we finish the show and after we get through the different parts of the brain, and feel free to reach out obviously to Liam. His contact will be on our description of the show. This is powerful stuff. If we can get to that and maybe apply some percentage of what we are learning today, I think we all can change a piece of our life to be better. And if we can achieve a certain level of happiness today, that's the ultimate target and goal in life. If we live one good, happy day, at a time, well, that's eternity. And that's something that's beautiful. So I think that's the ultimate objective that we all are looking for. And hopefully today we can get us closer to that. And of course, it's going to be, we all have to do sacrifice, this, that, the other. We have to make changes. Sometimes change is difficult. That's the other part where people think, I have to give up things. Well, we don't know. Maybe that's what you need to do. Again, I'm going to leave that to Liam. So Liam, let's talk about the actual parts of the brain, how to really tap into them to make the shift.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get onto that. This is really the key to it, because so much of what we do in our life, when you understand something, it's not difficult. But if you don't understand it, it is difficult, like driving the car. Once you suddenly understand how the car works and how to drive it, you go, well, there's no possible way I'd do anything differently. What on earth would possess me to think that I could drive this car by leaving the handbrake on or putting water in the fuel tank or something? It's just not the way you do it. So a lot of what I do now is really showing people to understand how your brain works, because then all the lights go on. And it's like, that's logical, it's obvious. So anyway, this is how your brain works. And I've taken a lot of science and research and put it into a model that's quite simple to understand, but obviously it has a bit of a lot of a technical background. But basically, there are 4 parts to your brain, and they all have a different function. Part number 1 is your thinking brain, what I call your thinking brain. This is on the top of your head. And in this part of it's also called the neocortex. You might have heard of that. But this is the part of the brain that takes all of the information that comes to you in your life through your 5 senses and your thoughts, and any information you gathered through your experiences. It takes all that information and it stores it there. It's like a big library of every bit of information you've gathered in your life. Okay? So it's like a database or a library. It's also the part that can interpret what's in there so that you can communicate with other people and understand other people. So that's the thinking brain. That's all to do with your thoughts and the information that's your life experience. The second part of your brain is the feeling brain, the emotional brain, and that's located just below the top of your head, up here somewhere. And this is the part that's responsible for making you feel emotions. So the way it works is and I'll talk about it in not too technical a way, but basically it takes the information from your thinking brain as it's coming in, and it makes a decision. Is this safe? Is this good for you, or is not good for you? And if it's good for you, it releases hormones or chemicals, neurotransmitters they're called, which make you feel good. And they make you feel love, happiness, gratitude, excitement, all of those things. But on the odd occasion where it sees some danger, it produces another set of chemicals that make you feel bad: fear, worry, anxiety, stress. Okay, but it's all done by the emotional feeling brain. The third part of your brain is at the back of your head, and it's called your survival brain or your mechanical brain. And this is the part that's responsible for looking after all of the survival things that, to keep you going, keep you alive, that you're not thinking about, like breathing and your heart beating and all your organs performing the right way, etc. And it has one other very important survival function that's this part of the brain is responsible for, and that is sometimes in your life you might be faced with an immediate danger or an immediate threat. So in prehistoric times, you might be walking along in the forest and a lion might jump out at you. Now, in that instance, the survival brain activates something called the fight, flight, freeze, response. And it gets you to react to that certain danger and do everything you can to eliminate it. So with the lion, it might be jump out of the way or run away or shout or try and fight. We're all familiar with this, fight, flight, freeze, instinctual reaction to a problem. So they're the three parts. There's another part of the brain, and science has relatively recently uncovered this part of the brain. There's a couple of places where it's located physically. And this is what I call your creative brain. And this is the part of the brain that's responsible for your creativity, your imagination, your gut feelings. It's not to do with your thoughts. It comes from somewhere else. It's where you get a gut feeling about something. Oh, I should do that, or I shouldn't do that. It's where you get new ideas from. It's where you get intuition. And artists, musicians, and even athletes talk about, musicians, composers say, I just heard the music and I wrote it down. It didn't come from their thinking brain. It comes from their creative brain. All of the creativity is there. This is also where your motivation comes from. It's it drives your motivation to do something. You go, yes, I'm going to do that. You do it, and it works well, and you get a good outcome. But here's the other thing about what this part of the brain does as well, is that, from our limited perspective, if we're not aware of this, we don't realize that, remember we said the brain is infinitely powerful. This actually, as part of its job to make you the best you can be, the happiest you can be, and to give you everything you need to be the best you can be, it actually brings you the right people. It brings you the right situations. It brings you things that you call luck or coincidence or synchronicity. These are all managed by your brain, because your brain is a connection to infinite intelligence. Your brain is infinitely far more powerful. It has the power to do this, and this is what it does. So the whole purpose of the way you're supposed to live with these four parts of your brain, what's supposed to happen is that your thinking brain brings in all the information for your environment. Your emotional brain says, yes, everything's good. And your creative brain runs your life. So you feel in the flow, you're creative, you come up with new ideas, you make the right decisions, you avoid making the wrong decisions, you know what's right for you, the right things come to you that are right for you, and you can recognize what they are. And you're not worried about what other people are thinking or anything else. You just know, wow, I never thought I'd be doing this, or this is a new idea, or someone's giving me a new opportunity, and it's great. That's the way you're supposed to live. But there's one time when you're not supposed to live like that, and that's obviously when the lion comes out of the jungle at you. And what happens there is really interesting, and people don't realize this, is that your emotional brain correctly recognizes that there's an immediate danger, and it makes you feel fear, anxiety, and stress. And it activates something called the sympathetic nervous system, which activates your fight, flight, freeze response. And what it does is it takes all of the resources from the rest of your body and the rest of your brain to focus on that immediate threat, that immediate danger, and get rid of it instantly as fast as possible. Now, the thing is, that's absolutely big. And as soon as it does, your emotional brain says, right, everything's fine, go back to being in your creative brain, being the best that you can be, living the life that you're designed to live, that your blueprint that we're bringing to you and is all falling into place, and you're living your perfect life, whatever that looks like for you. But here's the thing. When the emotional brain activates the sympathetic nervous system, and it makes you feel fear, worry, and anxiety. As I said, it shuts down all the other parts of your brain and body that aren't useful to fight off an attacker or an immediate danger. It shuts all that off. So what does it shut off? It shuts off your creative brain. It shuts off all of your intuition, your creativity, your imagination, your ability to solve problems, the right people, the right circumstances, the right situations coming to you. None of those are useful. I mean, if you were there appreciating how beautiful your environment was when there was a lion running to eat you, you'd be dead. It has to focus only on the problem. And your brain is saying, you're doing this automatically. Where's the danger? Where's the threat? That's all we've got to focus on. We've got to get rid of it. And that's absolutely perfect when the lion's running at you. But what we don't realize is what we're doing with our brain is our brain is making us think that we're faced with danger all the time. Because when you feel anxious, stressed, and worried, your brain is telling you that you are faced with an immediate danger. And what's the problem with that? You can't solve your problems. If you feel fearful, stressed, worried, anxious, you've got to realize, unless the lion's running at you, you're using your brain the wrong way, and you'll never create the life you really want. You're going to have problems. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do all the wrong things. You're going to react to situations. All that part of your brain is blocked off to you. And this is why it says in the Bible 365 times, I think, be not afraid, have no fear, be not anxious, because that's using your brain the wrong way. And all you've done, somehow your brain has mixed up what is a real threat to your survival, the lion, to an imaginary threat, something you've dreamed up, and it makes you stressed and worried. But we don't realize that blocks off you haven't got a hope of solving that problem without the problem-solving part of your brain. You're only going to make it worse. You're only going to create problems, and you're going to do what I did, go through a life of stress and always problems showing up and never feeling happy and never quite doing exactly what you want to do. And then you think then you're going to be busy writing down what you think you need to get to be in a happy place, rather than letting your creative brain, which has all of that ability, that's its purpose, is to bring you all the stuff you really want that you don't even know about. But you can't do. So all you need to do to use your brain the right way is to realize that fear, stress, worry, anxiety, that's blocking you from, you'll never get your ideal life. You'll never be the real person you're supposed to be if you feel that, other than on the very odd occasion when something's going to kill you or harm you there and then. And this is what I realized I was doing differently from before and after. I wasn't operating from fear. I was operating from the point of view of whatever happens, happens. Whatever shows up, shows up. I give up trying to find out the answer to what I really want to be happy. I give up trying to find a way to be happy. It's all, and it was only later when I started to study all of this that I realized and came to the realization that it's because that is the part of your brain, the part of the brain that I was using. I wasn't in fear anymore and trying to fix things and solve problems when I was shutting off the problem-solving part of my brain. I hope that makes sense.
Well, it does actually. I was going to make a comment about the way you described it. I mean, that's exactly the way we are living today. Every day, people waking up, and the world is full of dangers and all the different reasons why we are always in a fight, a fight mode. Basically, we're just kind of like in a scary mode and
struggling.
We're struggling. There's nobody probably that's watching and listening right now that cannot relate to this. You wake up. I mean, maybe there are exceptions. You are one, and there are a few probably that achieve that level. But for the most part, people are waking up because of the daily routine, the monotonous routine, the status quo of life, and it's all bad, because technically it's all bad because we all are like struggling. If you were to, we make this joke, and I mentioned I'm from Morocco originally, right? And we joke, internally with my wife and I, that people in some parts of the country over there, they might not have much, in terms of physical, or material stuff, but they have the happiest and the most calm life, and they really are stress-free. I mean, they wake up, they have nature in front of them, there's stuff. Now, I mean, it's changed over the years. Now everybody wants what we have around the world. So it doesn't matter what remote, village you're in, you have the TV, you see everybody. And now with the
they've been
internet,
brainwashed.
Exactly. So, but I can tell you, I mean, you can see the change and the shift over the years. I mean, I'm giving an example of Morocco specifically because I can relate to some of the places that are remote that only recently have received, like the technology that we have around the world. And when you would visit there, these people, before they got corrupted, and influenced, they were really happy. They would be more hospitable. They would be, very peaceful. They wake up. They were healthier physically.
Yeah.
I mean, they ate naturally and stuff. And even today, I mean, in the modern world, there's a lot of people that go into the natural state and they're naturalists, right? They live a more holistic and natural life, and they change that dynamic, and they really live a better and healthier physical, mental, everything. But the majority of us, though, we don't have that because we caught up, and it's difficult because you can't. It's almost like a very vicious cycle. You can't get out of it. You're just like you're spinning. It's like the little thing, the what they call the hamster, running in circles in that little cage. That's what we are. And to your point, you're touching into the psychology and the actual literally the biology and the anatomy of the brain and the functions of the brain, and they're all you are on point with that. I mean, I've had a couple psychologists and psychiatrists here and that explain some of these functions, and frankly it does exactly what you said. The fact that we are so caught up and scared every day because of our life, our provision, what's going to happen to us, my mortgage, my this, my that. People are just, they're shutting down everything else. To your point, your body is automatic. It's just going to do that. The brain's going to do that. And because you live in that same cycle every day, to your point, your creative mind, everything else is not there. You're just basically missing 3 components of your brain functions, and you're just using the one thing that you don't need for the most part. Because you're right, this is not a real, live or dead situation. What's the worst that can happen? You lose your house. Okay. You didn't start with one. You see, so now when you start thinking about it that way, if you start actually getting and seeing the reality of things where you don't need all this, you can have them, but you don't need them. If they go, it's okay. You can still live. Is that really what you want? Then you start shifting. And if you're not waking up in the morning stressing up about the world, then you nothing can control you anymore. Then to your point, your brain is going to release all the energy that's been shut down and locked away. So that's really just my little comment on that. I mean, it's a little longer comment, but so go ahead, Liam. You wanted to say something?
Well, but here's the thing, people say, but I've got a mortgage to pay and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. But if you really knew on a deep level, not some belief, but if you knew logically that you had a machine that was designed to give you everything you want and need to be happy. But then why would you use a small part of your brain, the wrong part, to try and figure it out? Why would you not allow that machine to work? It's a bit like getting into a car and getting out every five yards and just checking that it's still going. You don't do that. It's going to do the job for you. You don't need to worry about it and think and check on it and doubt whether it's going to happen. So when you really understand that, then you don't worry about even whether you pay your mortgage, because maybe you even having a house, as you say, isn't right for you. I mean, I lost everything. I haven't lived in a house for more than a decade. I haven't lived anywhere for more than a decade. And I don't worry about where I'm going to live because I know my brain is just going to bring, and it always, touch wood, when I use it the right way, it brings me all sorts of weird things. A couple of years ago, my partner and I, we sailed from Turkey through the Greek islands to Italy. And we thought, well, we don't want to go sailing for the winter. We need to go find somewhere else for a few months. We'll leave the boat somewhere. We thought, we'll just leave the boat there. Where are we going to go? No idea. Something will show up. And I just happened to be on a house sitting website because we've done lots of house sitting over the years, looking after people's houses. And there in southern Italy was a designer house with an infinity swimming pool overlooking the ocean, surrounded by forest, and the owner wanted someone to stay there, just to keep an eye on the place for 3 months, however long you wanted to be there. And I looked at this advertisement and I noticed there were 50 people who'd applied for this to live in this amazing house in Sicily, southern Italy. I thought, oh, well, what does it feel? Oh, yeah, I'll just apply for it. that feels right. Well, it turns out the man who owned the house was a New Zealander like me. This is in Italy. Not only that, he was born and brought up in the same little town that I was born and brought up in. He went to the same church that I did. And the funniest thing of all, his name was Liam, same as me, an unusual name. So who gets to go and stay in the house? Now, we didn't know the day before I'd spoken to him that even existed. So this, and I'm not saying this to be try and sound like I'm a great hero and how smart it is and all that, but this is the sort of thing you need when you start using your brain the right way. You know that whatever happens is going to be right for you. And even things that appear like disasters, I mean, losing everything on one, for a lot of people would say that's a terrible thing to happen. It was the greatest gift that ever happened to me, because that's why I'm talking to you. That's how I learned about all this stuff. This is how I can help share this information with people. I would never have learned any of that if I hadn't happened. I'd still be struggling, doing the goal setting and thinking, well, I need to know more and get more and not be successful, which is being happy. So when you really, and this is why in my coaching, I have a program where there are 3 parts to it. The first part is all about, you've really got to understand your brain. It's a bit like someone comes along to you and says, here's a glass of hydrochloric acid. I'll give you $10 million if you drink it. What do you say? Well, it doesn't matter if you give me $100 million. All right, I'll give you $100 million. Will you drink it? No, but $100 million will make you happy, but it's going to damage me. Hydrochloric acid is not the way I'm designed. I'm not designed to drink hydrochloric acid. And it's the same when you understand your brain and how it works. There's just no way you're going to use it any other way. And the whole thing about fear, if you know that switches off any hope you have of really living a happy life, you're going to do everything you can to avoid feeling stressed and worried. You literally are, because that gives you no hope. But you would only do that if you knew that part of your brain, if you trusted, had faith and understanding that part of your brain is designed for and will make sure you live the best life you can. You just need, I don't know if you've seen the film The Matrix.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. And what does Morpheus say to Neo? You have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. You have to free your mind. And I can show you the door, but you're the one who has to walk through it. It's exactly the same thing.
You quoted it right. I have to say, you've probably seen it a couple of times.
A couple of hundred times.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Well, if you can understand the Matrix, you can realize what this life is about. It's a very
deep film.
And life is a matrix, and we can go to the philosophy of that movie, and this is like what you're doing right now is that red pill. We're red pilling people right now. Wake up.
Yeah,
wake
I know.
Up, people.
I know it's a lot to take on, and sometimes I feel people would be happier if I said, "Oh yes, just set your goals, try harder, and keep figuring stuff out." But I've tried all of that. It didn't really work for me. It didn't work particularly for other people that I now help and coach. And it's interesting. I interviewed a man on my own podcast. I don't normally have guests, but I had him. He wrote a book called A Rich Man's Secret. And he had a business. He's retired now, but he had a business. He had 1 million customers. He was paying $40 million a year in tax. That's how much money he was making in America. He had 2 private jets. And he said, Liam, I could never have put this on a goals list. There's something else. Whatever created this in my life, it wasn't in my head. It wasn't in my thoughts and what I would figure out. And he's right onto it. And he shares the same experience that I've had. There's a different part of you that's at work here, from your thoughts, from your struggle, from all of these things. And of course, we've been conditioned to think that struggle is good and you have to figure all this stuff out and you have to have goals and you have to have these things that society tells us. But it's all based on fear. It's all based on making you trying to make you realize that you're limited, and you need to get all those things and pay me some money, by the way, along the way, buy my house, buy my car, buy my holiday, whatever, but for you to be happy. But it's just, that's about knowing how to get people to part with their money rather than tell them the truth. It's to make you feel inadequate.
Well, Liam, thank you. And so some people actually may be skeptical, and let me just clarify. I get your point, and I believe in what you're saying because I understand the concept. And by the way, you mentioned something powerful about the best thing to happen is that event where you lost everything, because that kind of reset you to really open up to this. That's the red pill. That's when you actually woke up and realize how the best way to do it. But and again, we're talking Matrix language right now. But the fact, so hey, if you haven't watched one yet, go check out the trilogy and the new one. So, but actually, there's a book that it's called Matter is the Other Name for Illusion, and it's powerful if you get a chance to read it. It's pretty good about life and the world that we live in, all that. So it's really the Matrix in a write-up version.
But anyway, quantum physics tells us this is all an illusion. It's scientifically proven.
Oh, it is. I mean, again, we can have a whole show about that, and we can go deep in there. And again, some people may think that this is like well, what are you guys talking about? And I don't want to get into the challenge because it's difficult. I mean, again, there are more people that will take the blue pill than the red pill, but it's just life. It's again fear, because it's a lot easier. Comfort. I'm in a zone. I'd rather be here, keeping my lane. I'm good. But again, it's just the zombie, mentality, and we have that. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's part of the makeup of society today, and it could change. People have the right and the ability to change. They just have to discover that, and maybe they stumble on this show and they be like, oh, wait a minute, snap, or another show.
Well, that's my mission, is to really just share this information with people. So
no,
it's up to them as to whether they take it on board. But what I'm trying to do is show them logically. I'm not trying to say anything that they have to rely on what I say to think is true. I'm trying to show them the proof of everything I say, because I've been through all these people telling me, well, just do what I say and it'll work. I don't want them to believe me at all. I just want them to look at the evidence and the proof and to think it through. Does that make logical sense, what I'm saying? And if it doesn't, fine. And if it doesn't, do a bit more research to make up your mind as to whether it's true or not. Because here's the other thing about the truth. It doesn't matter whether you think it's the truth or not. It is the truth. The only difference between you thinking it's the truth or not has nothing to do with the truth itself. It's to what you think.
It's your perception of it.
And you're only going to benefit. It's only going to help you in your life if you learn and apply the truth. You can't say, well, that's a load of rubbish, and I don't believe it. I mean, there have been countless instances of people who've hung on to ideas and have just been swept aside because it just wasn't the truth. And they haven't been prepared to adapt their thinking by examining an idea and saying, well, does that make sense? Yes, it does logically. And I need to find out a bit more about this before I make a decision as to whether it's true or not. But, and that's really important.
Well, thank you, Tim. So I was just going to the concept of skepticism, because people will listen to this like, well, that's a bunch of bogus stuff, because we still got to pay the bills. And I think that's where the challenge is. I know for a fact that no matter what, tomorrow food will be on the table. Somehow, somewhere, things are going to happen. The question is what that is, and that's where we don't know. And again, that's the future; it's unknown. But when you kind of relax and you things will come up, and that's to your point. Many of people watching and listening, things happening to them every day, and people are being put in their path every day. They have ideas every day. I mean, artists. To your point, you're talking about musicians. Artists, they come up with these great, pieces of art, right? No matter what they are. And you'd be like, how did they get that? I mean, you get an idea. These business people, they come up with these terrific things and solutions, right? Nobody told them about it. They somehow they sleep, they think, and then next thing you know, you have something that you're working on and putting in play on paper and starting to work on. That's always going to happen. But you're right. If your creative mind is not operational, because you're constantly focused and you're constantly caught up, and then that's the other thing. I got to work, and people actually sometimes are miserable because they work in these jobs that they don't even love, and they don't even want to go. They have these terrible bosses, whatever the case. They're struggling, but yet they feel the obligation to do this because they have no choice. And one thing actually that happened in the last 2 years, which is the pandemic time, a lot of people actually have kind of woken up a little bit. I think there was a little trend of people realizing that they were in the wrong place, they're doing the wrong thing, and really found themselves. As bad as the pandemic was, a tragedy for a lot of folks. But on the flip side, there were people that actually kind of took that time to reset themselves. And they had enough time to really figure it out, and it changed their lives. Many people actually have really turned to a different place, and they're actually doing their own thing now. They're happier than ever. And again, it's not for everyone, but it could be for everyone. That's the good part. I mean, anyone that has a brain can do this, and anyone will experience it one way or the other if you're open to it. That's the other thing. You have to be able to see it and open yourself to it. If you say, "Man, this is not going to work," it's not going to work. You're telling your brain, that's not happening. So that's actually the biggest part. So the skeptics will be like, "Well, Liam, you know, you're talking about like you have a happy life, you know, but you don't worry about, you know, what are you going to eat today?" You said it yourself. We're going to figure out. You found a house, and it happens to. And by the way, that happens to everyone. If they just think about their lifestyle or their life cycle, actually, they will think that, "Oh, I met this person who actually got me to this person. I wasn't planning on this." You can be just talking to someone, you know, buying some food, and next thing you know, this person could be the biggest change in your life. You don't know. So, but if you are constantly worried, to your point, you're not, you know, open to it. You got to open up. You have to be clear about it, and you have to know that you have options, and the life is not going to end with you just being, you know, doing what you do. You can do better, and that's actually personally how I see it. So Liam, now I know you said you had the podcast. You have also your coaching business. So you do that, and that's the other thing. I mean, you found yourself, you're doing it, and it's working, and you're good. You got enough to pay for the lifestyle you have and happiness you aim for, and that's actually something that can be in itself, can be a motivation for a lot and inspiration for other people. If you think that you can't do it, you can. You know, do something that you see yourself able to do. Stop stressing and let it happen. Just work towards it, and it's going to happen. And you're going to see results faster than you can imagine. I can relate to it too, and we can talk about that, you know, in a different chapter if you want. But the fact is, we want you, if you want to learn more, reach out to Liam and see what he has to offer and how his concept works. I mean, obviously, he's given us a very, you know, clear picture of what it is in general, but I'm sure there's more to it. And the other thing is, so I know we've kind of gone over the hour, but any like last focused words of wisdom that we can just, you know, leave. I mean, we can do this for another hour easily, but just in the interest of time, can you just kind of summarize something like an advice to people right now that they can do today that can, you know, trigger them to actually get that red pill or change their life and live the happy life that they want and a true success at that point?
Well, I think it's just to entertain the idea. Is it possible, do you think, that you might have a part of your brain that is an infinitely powerful part of your brain that knows how to make you really happy and to make, in other words, be really successful? Because as you said, people show up unexpectedly, things happen unexpectedly. And if you look at your life, you might think, if you're really honest, most of the things that shape your life are unexpected. They're not things that you're working for or that you plan. The person that you meet and you end up marrying, you don't plan on meeting them the day before. So if you can just entertain the idea that maybe it's possible that there is a part of my brain that is an infinitely powerful machine that has the power to give me the life that I really want and is designed to do that. And if you can grasp that idea, then you might be motivated to think, well, maybe I just need to find out if this is actually true, if that exists, and if it can do all those things. And this is what my podcast, I go into great detail to explain all of this. But just to open your mind a bit, because the problem is when you're in a state of worry, anxiety, stress, you can't see any of this stuff. So that's the other thing to say. Maybe there's something out there, there's something different that I can't see because I'm feeling stressed. Maybe my brain is stopping me from seeing things in a different way, in the right way. And and that is the truth. So, you know, you can come up with all the justifications. This doesn't sound right, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't sound logical, and it's all real for him, or it wouldn't work for me. Maybe that's your brain talking to you. Maybe it's because you're using it in a way it's only giving you these sort of negative messages. It's not to do with you. It's not what you want. But maybe this machine that you're using is not allowing you to operate properly. Just entertain that as a thought and say to yourself, I'm going to find out a little bit more about this and see, is this actually true?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you hit on a powerful key. That's a true key. Like, you know, there's on one of the matrices they had the key maker. Yeah. I call it the key maker. So you gave us the key here, and the key really is, to your point, entertain the idea. Ask the question. What are you going to lose? There's nothing to lose by asking the question, by entertaining it. At least be open to it. See, if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. But you owe it to yourself to even to just ask and figure out. If things are not working out, or at least you're not seeing, the happiness, the true happiness, which is where you wake up and you're enjoying life and doing the things you want, then ask the question. Maybe something is wrong, and we all know that when something is wrong, we know if it's consistently not good, or it's consistently hurting us, and we know that it's like a relationship. If you're in a relationship that is not working, it's bad, but yet you still get caught up into it. And I know you talk about this. You have another topic of discussion that you do this, right?
Yeah.
Marriages and all that. So
right.
But it's a very similar concept, right? But life is your ultimate relationship. It's yourself and life, your life. And so if you are open that there may be more to this life, there's better purpose for me, I can do more and better. That's a start. You start there, and believe me, and I know, Liam, you believe in this, it will start, almost revealing itself to you immediately. But again, totally. It's the same thing. Red pill, blue pill. You take that red pill and oops, wow, this is not what I expected. And you'll be very surprised, I would say rightly, positively so. And you'll be happier, just to know, because now you're going to see a whole different, it's like in the Matrix, they have the back doors. You're going to open that door and everything. Like you can just, open up to any door you want. You unlock the keys to every other, exit and new worlds of opportunities. And you will be able to do that. So again, that's all. Thank you, Liam. That's powerful, message, for the audience.
Well, it's even like saying, maybe you should entertain the idea. Maybe I wasn't expecting to hear this sort of stuff when I tuned into this show. But why am I listening to this? Maybe there's a part of my brain that wanted me to hear this, and to maybe look into it.
There you go. And you're right. We stumble on things, right?
Yeah.
You don't even know how you stumble on things. Yeah.
We think we stumble on it. Our brain knows, but of course,
Well, I mean,
it's not in our control. In other words.
Yeah, it happens, and like you just find yourself exposed to something, and you're like, where was I before? How did I miss this before? But that happens to all of us, and anyone listening or watching can relate to that. I don't care. And this is a worldwide show, so people all over the world have the same equal opportunity to tap into this. Doesn't matter where you are, what your background is, what's going on in life, what language you speak, what even believe you believe in. I think it is, we're all humans. We all have the same anatomy and biology. We have the same brain functions. And if you open yourself to it, you will see a difference. I mean, I believe in that personally. And it works for me well. It's obviously working well for you, Liam. and maybe we could do a comeback and talk about the other stuff that you do. So I know we're coming on to the end of the show.
Yeah, love to.
So definitely unlock, be open to your, to the truth. Be open to just at least discovering. Be open to just questioning things. And it starts with questioning things. I mean, in general, if you ask the questions, sometimes the answers scare you. And I think that's the problem. People are not ready to get the answers. People are not sometimes ready to do different. They're not ready to kind of leap towards like the unknown, or like to the uncharted territories, which is basically, again, in relation to the Matrix. When you take that red pill, it's a whole new world, and the whole new world is going to come in with a whole new set of surprises and successes and happiness, whatever you want. But unless you open that door, you're not going to be there. So be in it to win it, as they say.
Yeah.
So Liam, again, I know I already asked you for the words of wisdom, and you've given us the unlock and be open to the concept, and thank you for that. So listen, it's been a pleasure. I don't want to stop, but unfortunately we have a restricted amount of time. So thank you, and powerful stuff. Hopefully folks will see value in this particular show and learn from it. Please do check out the contact, the link actually for Liam and his operation, his podcast, and his coaching business. So hey, check it out. You never know what you're going to find, right?
Treat life as an adventure, not a struggle, and you'd be surprised.
I love that. See, that's even better as a final words of wisdom. Thank you for that. All right. Well, folks, thank you for being with us. Thank you, Liam. Folks, thank you for being with us today, and for watching, for listening, and hope you enjoyed it. We'll be talking soon. New guest, new show, new topic, and maybe Liam will come back to us, at a different show. Talk soon.
Love to.